The Baby Girl Princess by Petsissy Missikins, copyright 2026.
Part 2.
By the time he reached the Queen's Solar, he was not the poised prince anymore. He was weeping, a soft, high-pitched keening that drew Queen Maria from her reading chair instantly. "Aaron? My love, what is it?" Maria scooped him up, but he shrank from her touch, curled into a fetal ball, his eyes wide and vacant, staring at a world that only he could see. He didn't speak in the baritone of a teenager. He let out a thin, mewling sound, his teenaged, trembling hands clutching at the silk of his mother's gown as if searching for a soft comfort he had been denied his entire life. Medic Farah was summoned immediately to examine their son. Medic Farah, an elderly woman with silver-braided hair and hands that had seen the birth of every noble child in the last 40 years, was summoned immediately. She spent hours in the royal nursery, observing the boy who sat upon the plush rug, playing with a wooden block with the clumsy fascination of a toddler. When she finally emerged, her face was grave. King Ronan and Queen Maria paced the Solar, their tension palpable. "He does not recognize his own name," Farah whispered, her voice heavy. The shock of the rune stone acted as a catalyst, King Ronan. It shattered a dam he had been building his entire life. "A dam?" the Queen asked, her voice trembling. "Deep within his subconscious," Farah explained, "Prince Aaron has been hiding a truth, a longing to be someone else. He wished, with a silent, desperate intensity, to shed the armor of the prince and live in the innocence of a baby girl called Annabelle. His mind has regressed to that of a 1-year-old child. He is not merely traumatized, he is happy. He has found the escape he never dared to vocalize." "Can it be reversed?" the king demanded, his voice thick with grief. Farah shook her head slowly. "The mind is like a tapestry, Majesty. Once the threads are pulled and rewoven this way, it cannot be undone. He will never mentally grow older than this. He is, to all intents and purposes, a baby girl trapped in a teenage boy's form." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the chirping of birds outside the window. Queen Maria looked toward the nursery, where her son, now her daughter, was babbling happily at a shaft of sunlight. She felt the tears sting her eyes, not for the king she had lost, but for the child she had been gifted. "If we force him back," the Queen reasoned softly, "he will break." "He has finally found peace," said Medic Farah. Ronan sat heavily in his chair, his hands trembling. "My son, my precious boy, how can this be?" Maria, tears streaming down her face, looked toward the bed, where the tall, broad-shouldered teenager sat, staring blankly at his own hands, occasionally gurgling softly as he tried to grasp a silk ribbon. "It isn't a tragedy, Ronan," she whispered, her heart breaking and mending simultaneously. "It is a revelation. He was never happy as a prince. He was hiding, holding his breath for 16 years. If his mind is that of a baby girl, then that is who he is. And we will love her." The transformation that followed was not one of magic, but of profound, radical acceptance. The king and queen stripped away the expectations of the crown. They moved the prince into a nursery designed for a princess, pale pink silks, soft furs, and baskets of stuffed griffins and wooden dolls. They hired the finest wet nurses and nannies, not because he needed literal sustenance, but because he needed the structure of infancy. When they dressed him, now Annabelle, for the first time, it was a ritual of quiet grace. They placed her in delicate, lace-trimmed gowns and soft, ruffled bloomers that hid the sturdy, adolescent legs beneath. They tied long, satin ribbons into her hair, which she would reach up and pat with a giggle, a sound of pure, unadulterated joy that they had never heard from Prince Aaron. To be continued,